Namaskar. Welcome to Vedic Astrology Guru. I am your host, Mr. Gaurav. In today's video, I will be presenting a revelation which came to me. A revelation about the mantra Om, the magical mantra very well known to millions. So, what are the meaning of this mantra? How this mantra is associated to a human being? What are the astrological parlance of this mantra? And what are those planetary combinations which represent the energy of this mantra, which can be harnessed by a person? So, this is all we are going to discuss today in this video. If you like my video, please do leave a comment. If you like my video, please do try to share it with others so they can also have a learning curve. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you have any spiritual pursuits such as learning astrology, then I teach many modules, many different kind of astrology under the realm of Vedic astrology. If you have any interest in learning Vedic astrology, please feel free to contact me through the links mentioned down below in the section. Namaskar. Consciousness is all. Om, though described as having four states, is indivisible. It is pure consciousness. The three syllables comprising the Om are A, U, M, which are also the three sounds identical with the three states of waking, dreaming, and sleeping. The fourth state is beyond the other three, which is silence or impersonal spirit or the Paramatma, which is the highest consciousness. This fourth state is to be realized only in silence guided by a perceptor. Now, the syllable Om, bifurcated according to the Sanskrit, it means the letter O, which is AU, refers to protector. The letter Ma, which is M, refers to light, knowledge, magic formula, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Yama, the Lord of Death, and time and death itself. Now, Lord Ganesha, the Lord of the unbounded beginnings. Lord Ganesha is well associated with the symbol of Om. Lord Ganesha is taken as the symbol of Om. But why? This is something we are going to understand further. The elephant headed deity, why it is associated with Om, how it is associated with Om, this is something we are going to delve into further. The roots of Ganesha worship have been traced back to 3000 BCE, since the times of Indus Valley civilization. In 1993, a metal plate depiction of an elephant headed figure interpreted as Ganesha was discovered in Lausanne province, Iran, dating back to 1200 BCE. So, the deity in itself is an ancient deity. Even in the Vedas, the Sanskrit texts, the description of this deity has been since ages. Now, Ganesh Atharvashisha, which is a homage to Lord Ganesha, there is a word which says Swarom about the deity, which means Omkar Swarupa, narrating to Om is your form. Another word comes here is Tvam Mooladhar Sthito Asi Nityam. Mooladhar, which means Ganesha resides in the first chakra called the Mooladhara. Mula means original, main, and Adhara means base, foundation. Mooladhara is located near beneath the sacrum, while its superficial activation point is located between the perineum and the pelvic bone. So basically, what it narrates is the Kundalini. The Kundalini starts from the Mooladhara, and the deity Ganesha itself is related to the Mooladhara chakra. So this becomes even further important. The Mooladhara has great importance associated with the deity Ganesha itself. Now, an ancient classic, Brihad Parashar Hora Shastra, mentions Apara Jiva Sangyakaha, which narrates to Ketu and Jupiter rules Jiva, which is the life form. And Aparaha, if bifurcated further, the meanings of Apara according to Sanskrit are it means part of an elephant, womb, placenta, and the direction west. So, how all this Aparajiv Sangyaka, Mooladhar, and all the other words that are associated with this deity, how do they relate to it? Let's understand this further. Ganesha signifies Om, the ultimate cosmic energy. It also associates with the symbol of an elephant who travels slowly, similarly like a soul, making its journey towards the higher consciousness. Now, relationship of Om, Ganesha, and the elephant. It has been a very primitive relationship. Even as a child, I have seen the symbolic reference of an elephant with the Om and the Ganesha on invitation cards when we get invitation cards for marriages. Even uh, people use these kind of symbolic references on their visiting cards, and there are many other references that are found elsewhere. Even sometimes these references are found as tattoos. Sometimes these references are found at the entrances of people's house. So this is something, the Om, the relationship of Om, Ganesha, and elephant, which is a very common thing to be seen here in India. So as you can see, there are various references here with Om and Ganesha associated with the elephant head itself, which is a very common thing. Now let's understand this further, how this Om relates to an elephant, not just symbolically, but also on the level of vibrations of a sound. How this Om, which is in itself the highest form of vibration, associates with an elephant, with the sound of an elephant. Now, here is an image of an elephant who's trying to associate with the highest form of consciousness visible in the sky. Elephant raises its trunk when trying to connect with hidden things. and we have the symbol of Om. Now let's understand how this relates to the elephant. As you can see, the turnaround behind the Om represents the raised trunk of an elephant, and the dot above represents the highest form of cosmic energy. Apart from mythological and Vedic references of Om and elephants with Lord Ganesha, there is also symbolic similarities as well. Now let's focus on to the sound and vibrations which are the crux of this similarities. So the similarity between the chant of Om and the sound of an elephant, how the rhythmic vibration which starts to raise and dilutes with the cosmic. So far, we understood how it relates to Lord Ganesha and elephant. Now let's understand how this relates to a human being, how the energy of Om, how the symbolic reference of Om is to a human being. Now the ancient classic Brihat Parashar Hora Shastra mentions Aparaha Jiva Sangyakaha, which means Ketu and Jupiter rules Jivas, which is the human with life form. The further Sanskrit meaning of apara are it means part of an elephant, womb, placenta, or the direction west. So there is a role play of the elephant, there is a role play of the womb. When we are talking about the womb, definitely we are talking about a newborn, an infant, or the the child within inside of a womb, which is in itself the representation of the highest form of creation associated with the highest form of energy in this cosmic world. The, the placenta in itself becomes very important because it provides the nourishment, it provides the life form to the child, which is almost like a magic in itself. And the direction west. The direction west, as we already know, in a horoscope, the direction west is referenced through the seventh house. The direction west in itself shows the setting of life, the end of dawn, the end of light, the end of life as well. So let's understand this further. Navgraha Stotra, which is a homage to the 9 planets, it mentions Ketum Kulasya Unnatim. With Ketu, which is the south node, it signifies growth of lineage. That is what it connotes to. Now let's see the symbolic reference of Om with a baby in a womb. And not just that, the vibration, the sound vibration here, how it relates to an infant, the cry of an infant. Try and focus on this. Please absorb this vibration. Now, here is a baby in the womb and the heart of the mother, which is giving all the energy to that child, giving it life in the darkness of the womb. So, this is itself a magical process in itself, the creation of a child inside the womb, which is powered, which is given life through that heart. Now, what is the symbolic reference of Om with all this? Please observe. Now, see how This Om kind of wraps around a child within the womb. Now, this is a natural form of a child, which is very similar to the Om. And the turnaround behind the Om, the which we call a matra behind the Om, is associated with the placenta of the child. The dot at the top, the matra at the top, refers to that highest form of consciousness, that highest energy which is giving the life form to this child, associated with the heart of the mother. Now let's understand, let's observe how the sound vibrations of a young boy chanting an Om relates to an infant's voice, which also relates to Om. So we conclude, Brihadarashtra Hora Shastra mentions Ketu and Jupiter rules Jivas, which is the human with life form. So there is importance of Ketu and Jupiter here. Navgraha Stotra also mentions the importance of Ketu, which is the north node, which signifies growth of lineage. And Ganesh Sahasranam, which is again a homage to Lord Ganesha, it mentions Om Buddhi Priyaya Namah. Now, Buddhi Priya, which means fond of higher intellect. And we already know that intellect astrologically is associated with Mercury. So we cannot rule out the importance of Mercury here. Henceforth, we conclude the role of Ketu, Mercury, and Jupiter cannot be ruled out. Now let's see how these all play a role in a horoscope along with functioning of Om, which also resonates with soul of every individual. Now here is a Kalpurush chart, the primordial chart starting with Aries as the ascendant in the first house. The first house, as we know, it shows the body of a human being with a soul. But before starting that journey, the soul already resides with the God, with the highest form of consciousness. That soul as an energy form is represented to be in the 12th house. So the importance of that 12th house, which is the expenditure of the body, becomes very important. Now we know that the last lunar mention, the last nakshatra in the 12th house is Revati, which in itself shows highest form of satisfaction. Now, what is the highest form of satisfaction? To be joined with that highest form of consciousness, to be associated with the Almighty. And that Revati Nakshatra is ruled by Mercury. That Mercury, which represents intellect, which represents logic, that Mercury, which gets debilitated in the 10th house. Because to be associated with the Almighty, you really do not need logic. There is no need for logic. You all need is mindfulness. And if you have attained that mindfulness, that soul, that energy form, definitely gets associated to that highest consciousness, which is to be represented by the 12th house. Not to mention, the 12th house also represents liberation, salvation. Now, if there is karmic efflux, which is still balance in the form of new fortune to be bared as a fruit, then that soul takes birth, which is already associated with the cosmic being. Then it travels to the first house in the form of attaining a body. So it can reap those fruits, it can bear those fruits which are coming from the karmic efflux of previous lives. And then the journey of this person having this soul, having that body starts from the various houses, going through the second house of the family, the third house, making courage, effort, the fourth, the fifth house, sixth house, the struggles, seventh house, and ultimately reaching to the eighth house, where again the body is to be left behind and the soul departs after the death. Now, once the soul leaves this body in the eighth house, it instantly connects to the another sign of Jupiter, the Almighty Guru, the highest being in the sign of Sagittarius, associated in the nakshatra of Mula, the Mool nakshatra, whose lord is Ketu. It represents roots. So the soul has reached the roots again. So the importance of Mula Nakshatra in the sign of Jupiter associated with Ketu becomes of importance here. So the ninth house and the 12th house play vital roles. The Jupiter, the Mercury, the Ketu, all are playing important vital roles here. But still, this story is incomplete. We need one more planet to understand this. We still need that one input which can balance out the previous karmic efflux of those karmas which are still pending. And that planet is Saturn. So let's understand how Saturn plays a role along with all these planets. Since planet Jupiter gives self contemplation, helpful in expulsion of what's not necessary, is to be associated with the 12th house. And Saturn gives ability to fulfill pending karma associated with sadhana and self realization associated with the ninth house. Associating Mula, the Mula Nakshatra, the ninth mansion, the lunar mansion, with the ninth house and Saturn, we derive that a native having Jupiter, Saturn, Ketu combination in a chart may achieve highest level in self-realization and entirely runs down his karmic balance to attain liberation, connecting to the Almighty. Secondly, one having Jupiter, Mercury, Venus combination in a chart will be able to rise to higher consciousness by self contemplation, which is again represented by Jupiter. Submission to cosmic authority and eradicating unnecessary logic in life, represented by the debilitated Mercury, becomes vital here. And not to mention that Venus gets exalted in Pisces in the 12th house, showing ultimate satisfaction. Now we know that Venus, which gives satisfaction associated to all the kind of bhogas, all the kind of materialistic gains, materialistic pursuers, and their achievements. So this Venus plays a vital role in the 12th house getting exalted. It is not showing materialistic satisfaction. It is showing association with the highest being, with the consciousness, and showing the highest form of liberation, the highest form of satisfaction. That is what Venus role plays in the 12th house. Since this Venus is of great importance and gets exalted in the 12th house, so there is a major role play of Venus. So the role play of Venus cannot be denied here in the 12th house. So we conclude that Jupiter, Saturn, Ketu, and Jupiter, Mercury, Venus combinations show huge potential of a yogi's chart. It shows that a person may be able to pursue the highest form of sadhana to attain that liberation. If these are the combinations in a chart, then there is possibility that the person may be involved in any form of spiritual pursuit and may attain that highest level of spiritual pursuit. So let's understand this even further by a few examples. Now we have a chart of Swami Karpartiriji. We can see that in the ascendant we have a Jupiter Mercury Venus combination. It's a beautiful combination with an exalted Jupiter in the ascendant itself. Not to mention that this combination itself is on the Rahu Ketu axis. So there is again involvement of the south node here. And even further, in the sign of Jupiter, we have a retrograde Saturn supporting that Jupiter. Even further, we have Jupiter, Mercury, Venus in the nakshatra of Pushya, which is the nakshatra of Saturn itself. So, not just the involvement of Jupiter, Mercury, and Venus together, there is involvement of the south node, Ketu, and the planet Saturn in itself. So, here is a chart of a successful yogi. We'll show another chart, Raman Maharishi. As we can see, Jupiter is in the fifth house in the sign of Saturn, and Saturn is in the sixth house in the sign of Jupiter. We see a very, very, very strong exchange here. And the Ketu in the ninth house. Now, we already know that ninth house in a natural primordial chart, in a Kalpurusha chart, belongs to Jupiter. So Ketu's involvement with Jupiter is already here, being trine to Jupiter. And this Ketu, with its ninth aspect, is also aspecting Jupiter, and Jupiter is also aspecting Ketu with its fifth aspect. So again, we see a very strong relationship of Jupiter, Saturn, and Ketu here, showing a person's chart who has been successful in his spiritual pursuits. Another chart, Swami Shivananda. We can see that Jupiter is in the ascendant itself in the sign of Saturn. Saturn is placed in the fifth house, which is retrograde, aspected by that Jupiter. And not only that, this Saturn again is on the Rahu Ketu axis. So the involvement of Ketu on this axis with Saturn cannot be denied. And if we consider the retrograde Saturn here, which can be seen from the fourth house, is aspecting that Jupiter. So again, a direct relation of Jupiter, Saturn, and Ketu can be seen here in this chart. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's chart. Now we see Jupiter and Ketu in the 11th house directly involved on the axis where Saturn and Jupiter are 1/7 to each other, Saturn being in the fifth house. So, a very direct relationship of Jupiter, Ketu, and Saturn here. Not to mention that there is Sun, which represents the soul. So, Sun's involvement here with the combination of Jupiter, Ketu, and Saturn here also shows that the person will try to attain a spiritual path and may be able to get that success, may be able to get that liberation, which is possible by the combination of Jupiter, Ketu, and Saturn in this chart. A special chart, Osho Rajneesh, a special personality. Now we can see that Jupiter is retrograde, posited in the third house, which is exalted. In the eighth house, the sign of Sagittarius, in the sign of Jupiter, we have the combination of Venus and Mercury, both fulfilling that combination of Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury. But if we also consider that a retrograde planet is to be seen from the previous house, then considering Jupiter from the second house as well, it gets associated with Mercury, the sign of Gemini, completely aspecting this combination of Venus and Mercury, fulfilling it even further that the pursual, the spiritual pursuit may take place, and there may be possibly liberation, getting connected to that highest consciousness, getting connected to that highest being is possible for this kind of a person. Let's take another chart, a popular chart, Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. Now we have Jupiter in the sign of Mercury, Virgo, in the fifth house. So the role of Jupiter associated with Mercury and Venus is very, very evident in this chart. But let me bring your attention to the point where Mercury being posited in the fourth house. If you look closely, that Mercury is at 29 degrees 13 minutes. And if we cast a Kaspal or a Bhava Chalit chart, this Mercury gets posited, associated in the Chalit, the Kaspal chart in the fifth house, associating itself with Jupiter and Venus. So again, we have a very successful chart showing a spiritual pursuit and the possibility of that the person is has direct connection with the highest being, with the highest consciousness. Now let's take another important chart here. Paramhansa Yogananda. Now we can see that Saturn is posited in the second house, Ketu is in the third house, and Jupiter is posited in the eighth house. Not to mention that Jupiter already is in the Revati Nakshatra associated with Mercury. But there is no direct combination here. And we already are aware of the achievements of Paramahansa Yogananda ji. So, how did this happen? So, I will try to bring your attention to the Kaspal chart, which is the Bhava Chalit chart here of Shri Paramahansa Yogananda ji. If you look carefully in the cusp chart here, what is happening is that Saturn moves to the third house associated with Ketu, and Jupiter moves forward into the ninth house. So we have a very direct combination of Jupiter aspecting this Saturn being on the Rahu Ketu axis. And not just only Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, and Jupiter combination. So not only the combination of Jupiter, Saturn, and Ketu, this Jupiter in the ninth house is also aspecting its own sign, the fifth house, the Sagittarius sign. And we already know that Mercury and Venus are beautifully posited there. So this combination, not only of Saturn, Ketu, and Jupiter here in the chart, in the Kaspal chart, we also have a combination of Jupiter, Mercury, and Ketu. So all these combinations in these various charts, the combination of Jupiter, Ketu, Saturn, and Jupiter, Mercury, and Venus, they show that the person will try to attain a spiritual path, will try to follow that spiritual path, and may be able to get liberation, getting connected to that highest consciousness in their life. If you like my video, please leave a comment, as your comments are very important. If you like my video, kindly share it, and don't forget to subscribe the channel through the links below. At Vedic Astrology Guru, I am also conducting various courses to teach Vedic astrology. If you want to inquire or learn Vedic astrology, please contact me through the links mentioned below in the section. I'm your host, Mr. Gaurav. Namaskar.